Today, we turn to a tense and revealing moment on Capitol Hill as Attorney General Pam Bondi faced pointed questions from Senator Patty Murray. What unfolded was not just a clash of personalities, but a deeper debate about the direction of the Department of Justice under the Trump administration.
We're joined by the Vice Chairman of the full committee. Senator Murray is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Bondi, we are in a deeply alarming moment where law and order is being replaced by chaos and corruption and really whatever Trump wants. And your department's independence and its capacity to do its job have eroded before our eyes. We have seen respected career officials who've been fired for doing their job. Thousands more are being pushed out with your buyouts and the threat of mass firings, and entire divisions are being eliminated, and grants have been canceled illegally. So I have questions about how and why those decisions are being made, and importantly, whether you're adequately resourcing DOJ to do its job. But before I turn to my questions, I do want to raise my alarm about the troubling pattern of trampling basic rights. Detainees, including U.S. citizens, being shipped overseas without any due process. Elected officials are detained for conducting oversight, and a U.S. senator gets tackled to the ground for asking questions at a press conference. This is not the country I know or the values I believe in, and I hope that colleagues on both sides of the aisle will agree with that. Now, to the questions. Yesterday, and I know that Senator Van Hollen raised this issue, a former DOJ attorney filed a protected whistleblower complaint accusing Deputy AG Emil Bove and senior DOJ leadership of defying court orders, including through, quote, lack of candor, deliberate delay, and disinformation, unquote. The complaint also accuses this administration of firing the whistleblower for, quote, telling the truth to the court. These allegations are deeply concerning. Now, I know you said that you can't discuss the case, but can you confirm that you agree that this administration should follow court orders?
We will follow court orders, Senator. The entire administration will follow court orders. The problem arises in the district courts. All these district courts throughout the country are tying our hands, but here's how we will follow them when we get to the United Supreme Court.
I need to ask
we're winning.
A number of questions.
And so, yes,
I know
we're following the orders of the court.
Let me ask my questions. Can you confirm you will not allow any conduct like what is alleged to continue at the DOJ?
I'm not going to talk about anything that's alleged. What I will talk about with you, hold on, you asked me a question and I get to answer it. What you asked me, alleged conduct that's part of a pending whistleblower lawsuit that was filed on the eve prior to Emil Bove's hearing today.
I'm not asking about that
suspicious. Hold on, let me keep going. I would run through a wall for Emil Bove and Todd Blanche.
Like to continue with my questions. I have very limited time. Thank you. I just want you to confirm for this you will not allow conduct like that at the DOJ. Yes or no?
I will always support and defend Emil Bove, and I will defend Todd Blanche. They are two of the finest people I know and two of the ethical people I know.
I was asking about the conduct. Let me keep going here. Now, in April, DOJ abruptly terminated over 300 public safety grants that had already gone through a very rigorous and fair and apolitical application process with no explanation. This is funding to investigate and prosecute drug trafficking, to support foster care kids who experienced abuse or neglect, to expand access to forensic exams to prosecute violent crimes like sexual assault. These really senseless cancellations have already forced public safety organizations to cut employees and services. So I want to ask you, when you cut off the community-based violence intervention and prevention initiative funding, were you aware it is used to prevent and reduce violent crime?
Yeah, Senator, you weren't here for that, so I'm going to have to repeat myself. We have cut grants. I think we've cut 6%. But if we have cut a grant that you feel should not be cut, please reach out to me. I will personally look at it. We've turned multiple grants back on. Okay. We have an appeal process. But if you want to come to me directly, I would be happy to sit down with you and look at that and help you.
I'm happy. I appreciate
Again, we're doing everything we can.
Okay, but let me just ask you, when you cut off the expanding access to sexual assault forensic examination grant, were you aware that that grant helps our authorities prosecute rape and sexual assault?
I have no idea about that specific grant you're talking about. That's why I said, if you want to come sit down with me, I would never cut a grant
I appreciate that.
intentionally
It's
that
very
has
hard for
anything to
those
do.
recipients on the other end across the country.
Can you
to
give
get
me
a
the
phone
details of
interview.
that grant?
I can absolutely do that, and my staff will get that to you, but those are two critical ones that I just wanted to ask you about today.
Again, we've turned many grants back on and will continue to. If you want to call me and we can discuss them with you.
Okay, in your budget request, you propose consolidating the Office on Violence Against Women into the Office of Justice Programs. In 2002, Congress actually codified the office as a permanent, separate, and independent office to implement the Violence Against Women Act. We did that to make sure that violent crimes against women receive the necessary attention, expertise, and resources, and to give the office a strong, independent voice within the Justice Department and federal government. Now your department wants to fade that into the OJP, which violates the intent of the law that we passed. It makes grant programs less effective, and it places a lot more barriers for victims and services they need. And I see that you're cutting the office's resources by about a third. So will you commit to us, the Appropriations Committee, to follow the law and maintain OVW as a separate grant entity?
I will follow the law, but I will not keep that as a separate grant entity. You and I can disagree all day long on what the law is.
Well,
that's being consolidated into the Office of Justice Programs. I'm not going to cut, let me answer, I'm not going to cut anything that's going to hurt violence against
Not
women.
my question.
It will eliminate
I'm asking, just for your information, Attorney General, in 2002, we codified the office as a permanent, separate, and independent office. So that you need to go back and take a look at that. I know my time is out, but I thank you very much for the time.
Before we go any further, remember to subscribe so you never miss our breakdowns of critical hearings like this one. The exchange opened with Senator Murray painting a stark picture. She described what she called a deeply alarming moment for American democracy, where law and order is being replaced, in her words, by chaos, corruption, and whatever the president wants. Whether viewers agree with that assessment or not, it reflects a growing concern in Washington about the independence of federal law enforcement. Over the past year, the Justice Department has undergone major turnover, with career officials resigning or being pushed out, and several long-standing programs being abruptly eliminated. For people watching at home, this matters because the DOJ is not a political tool. It is the institution designed to uphold the rule of law. If the public begins to question its neutrality, democracy itself becomes more fragile. Make sure you hit subscribe so you stay up to date as these investigations continue to unfold. Senator Murray pressed Bondi on something even more serious. Reports that detainees, including U.S. citizens, have been moved overseas with no due process, elected officials detained for conducting oversight, and even a sitting U.S. senator tackled to the ground during a press conference. These are not small allegations. They touch on constitutional rights, due process, and the limits of executive power. This is where understanding context becomes crucial. Throughout American history, when the executive branch has operated without clear checks, the consequences have often been long-lasting. The senator's point was that if these incidents are allowed to become normalized, the country drifts away from the values it claims to defend. Do not forget to subscribe for more in-depth reporting on how these issues affect you beyond political headlines. The back and forth intensified over a whistleblower complaint. A former DOJ attorney accused Deputy Attorney General Amal Bawai and senior leadership of defying court orders through lack of candor, deliberate delay, and disinformation. According to the complaint, the whistleblower was fired for telling the truth to the court. These kinds of allegations strike at the heart of the justice system because the government is obligated to follow court orders regardless of political preference. When Senator Murray asked Bondi to simply confirm that the administration would not tolerate this type of conduct, Bondi refused to comment on accusations tied to ongoing litigation and instead expressed unwavering loyalty to Boy and Todd Blanche. That refusal raised eyebrows because the question was not about the lawsuit itself, but about the principle of following the law. This is why hearings like this matter. They force transparency, even when the answers fall short. Subscribe if you want us to keep tracking where this whistleblower case goes and what it could mean for federal accountability. The second half of the exchange focused on public safety grants. Earlier this year, the DOJ abruptly terminated more than 300 grants used across the country. These grants fund programs that investigate drug trafficking, support abused and neglected children, expand access to forensic exams, and prosecute violent crimes, including sexual assault. These programs are often lifelines for local communities that do not have large budgets. Murray highlighted two critical ones: community-based violence intervention and sexual assault forensic examination funding. If you want continued updates on which community programs are affected by these cuts, make sure to subscribe. The final clash came over the administration's proposal to dissolve the Office on Violence Against Women by folding it into a larger department. Congress intentionally made that office independent back in 2002 so that crimes like domestic violence and sexual assault would receive focused attention and resources. Consolidating it risks weakening its influence and diminishing its visibility within federal law enforcement. They ripple into courtrooms, shelters, police departments, and entire communities. Subscribe to stay informed as Congress reviews this proposal and its long-term implications. In the end, this was more than a routine oversight hearing. It revealed a Justice Department at a crossroads and lawmakers demanding clarity on whether its mission is still rooted in fairness and the rule of law. These questions will not disappear, and neither will the consequences of the answers. Stay with us. Subscribe now so you never miss our detailed coverage of the investigations shaping the future of American justice.